Hi, I'm Paula Deacon, Superintendent of the Leominster Public Schools. In attendance are my cabinet members who will introduce themselves and speak to each part of the preliminary fall reopening plan. If you have any questions or concerns, please email us at lps_hotline@leominsterschools.org or call 978-534-7700, extension 1341, and please leave a message. I know this period has been difficult, confusing, and at times truly scary. I get it. We, as the educational advocates, are trying to put our best efforts forward for all the children and staff of Leominster. We strongly believe in the power of education and the influence of superior teaching. We also believe in choice and feel strongly that families need to have all the information possible to make an informed decision for their children. As you listen to each component, please know that equity and safety have been in the forefront from the beginning. The school department is adhering to all provided guidance and then some. The commissioner has just announced that there will now be 10 full days of training for staff prior to the school year, and students will need to attend 170 days. So students would be starting on September 14th this year. We will pay close attention to the health metrics throughout to guide any possible changes in planning. Again, this is a fluid period of time that requires us all to be nimble as we put our children in the forefront of this decision. I now turn this meeting over to my team.
Hello, I'm Jenny Mundy, Director of Strategic Initiatives. At the beginning of July, 2 surveys were sent out to our families and staff. We had over 2,700 responses from our families. It was great to hear from so many of you. One of the highlights noted was that the majority of our families want some type of in-person learning. This was an initial survey for our district. Once a plan is approved and we receive more information from the commissioner, another survey will be sent out to our families for them to let us know what learning model they will choose for their child this upcoming year. This will be sent out by mid-August, so please be on the lookout. Staff also received a survey where 454 people responded. Teachers, paras, tutors, clerical, custodians, and administrators all participated. From the responses that we received, 70% preferred some type of in-person learning, which was what our families want as well. In the open response question, staff offered many suggestions about how each learning model could work, along with what their safety concerns were. Regarding professional development, you can see that many of our staff are looking for technology support. One piece we do know is that Leominster was already planning on front-loading professional development days at the beginning of this year. As the superintendent stated, the commissioner just recently determined that staff will receive 10 additional PD days prior to school starting.
This is Jim Riley, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit about the district work we've done thus far in terms of our buildings and facility evaluations. It's important to note that all of the work that we've put together today is based primarily on DESE guidelines and CDC recommendations. One thing we've done in all of our buildings at this point is actually conducted physical walkthroughs. That's involved taking space measurements and making sure we understand what the student capacity is in every area, using the recommended 6 feet of distancing between students. The other thing we've done in all our buildings is made sure we've identified areas that could be designated for alternative purposes if needed. This would be looking at locations both inside and outside the physical plant that may not have been originally intended for things like instruction or meals, but could be in the event of a particular learning model being adapted. The other thing we've been looking at is the effective use of signage. We're looking to clearly communicate consistently the expectations in our buildings that are needed to maintain safety. Orders are being placed with a single vendor to make sure that there's consistency whether you're in a building such as Fallbrook or Skyview. You see the same type of signage. This should be available in multiple languages and indicate things like directional movement, establish appropriate spacing, and also mandating the use of masks in areas. As we move forward, the next step is going to be for us to actually do some building level implementation of the guidelines that have been put forth by DESE. It's important to note that this is a very dynamic area. DESE just released guidance for facilities this past Wednesday, July 22nd. We are confident as a district, though, by establishing a partnership between our facility director, building administration, and staff whenever possible, that we'll be able to be able to open safe and effective schools if an in-person learning model is chosen. Most people are wondering about what's the impact on our classroom? What are the classroom considerations? Most staff and students will be spending the majority of their time in their venues. This picture illustrates some of the classroom considerations that would be taken. Of note is the fact that in the picture on the left, all non-essential furniture has been removed to provide additional space for students and staff. Desks are all facing in the same direction with appropriate separation between them. There are individually provisioned materials for student use whenever possible, and there's a shielded staff member for teachers. You could also notice that there are markings on the floor to delineate space and direct movement from about the classroom. On the right is a picture of one of our sanitation stations. Both of these pictures were taken from Francis Drake Elementary, which is currently housing the Creative Choices program. They offer live models of what our classrooms could look like if students return to our physical locations. We're excited to move forward with this work in a direction that is going to be determined by the selection of a learning model later this week. We are confident that, regardless of the model chosen, we'll be able to make the schools as safe as possible.
My name is Renee Kosker. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning in ELL, and we're going to be talking about the learning models. As Super Deacon mentioned, Leominster has developed 3 models for teaching and learning for the school year 2021. Leominster has also planned a full remote option, Leominster Learning Academy, for students whose families have already made the decision not to return face-to-face learning in any model this year. Leominster also has many specialized programs for students, including Center for Technical Education Innovation, Leominster Center for Excellence, Special Education, and our English language learners. Flexible scheduling required to meet the needs of these students will be a component of each of the proposed learning models. In-person learning would bring all students back to school for face-to-face learning each day. The school day for students would be compacted to approximately 5¼ to 5½ hours per day. Students will be platooned where possible to lessen the interactions with other students and staff members. This will mean a streamlined schedule. Students will continue to receive instruction in all content areas. Teachers will continue to provide standard-based instruction in power standards for each content area.
Hello, I'm Maureen Cipolla, also in Curriculum and Instruction, talking about the hybrid learning model. Leominster's proposed hybrid model would be a 1-week face-to-face and 1-week remote on a rotating basis. While face-to-face, the students would experience the same schedule and safety precautions as outlined in the in-person learning model. Remote learning will make use of technology connections and devices to be outlined by Steve Mamoni. Remote learning will also include various other learning modalities, including project-based learning and traditional paper and pencil activities. Based on feedback from families and staff, students will have a lead contact teacher for school-to-home interaction and home language support during the remote learning weeks.
Leominster's full remote model will be planned based on feedback from teachers and families and their experiences from spring 2020. A proposed schedule will include a daily synchronous session with students. Leominster will continue to make use of the Google Educational Suite of tools, including our Google Classroom grades K through 12. The district is reviewing learning management tools that will support teachers and families with remote content and interactivity. Direct instruction time will also be condensed for students with opportunities and suggestions for enrichments, interventions, and extensions.
The proposed learning models were developed with a priority for safety for students, teachers, staff, and families, and equity for all students. Regardless of the model chosen for Leominster students, instructional time will be condensed. With input from our teaching staff, a procedure for student attendance, formative assessment, and grading will be developed and implemented. Instruction in the fine arts, physical education, and social emotional learning will be provided. Systems of communication and safety nets to support students and family will be a priority in all proposed models. As mentioned earlier, students with specialized needs will receive support to successfully access the curriculum and instruction. Families who do not want their students taking part in face-to-face instruction will continue to be a part of the Leominster Public Schools through our remote Leominster Learning Academy.
Hello, my name is Steve Mamoni, and I'm the Director of Digital Learning. I'm going to talk to you about the technology component of our plan. We're excited to announce that the Leominster Public Schools is going to be a one-to-one district. What that means is that each student will have their own device, and they will have the ability to take them to school when we're in session and to the home when we're not in session. Those devices will be able to be supported by our technology department if there are any problems that occur. Also, we are going to start a internet hotspot lending program for those families without internet to be able to connect. Along with all of the technology that we will be adding, there's bound to be some problems. And so we have a few things in place that will be able to help families, students, and staff address those problems. First, we're going to introduce a technical support help desk strictly for families and students. There will be a ticketing system modeled after our staff one that we currently have in place. Families and students will be able to put a ticket in. There'll be a response within 24 hours by email or telephone, and there will be some support to get people back up and running. There will be a number of self-paced tutorials for families. One exciting thing that we're going to introduce this year is the Clever Student Portal. Teachers and students are going to be pretty excited about this from what I'm hearing. This will be a one-stop shop for all of our technology applications. Students will have a single sign-on, and that will be very helpful and time-saving. There'll also be a YouTube channel with resources for families that will be on our district website, where the technology plan will be prominently displayed. In terms of technical support for staff, we're going to continue with our ticketing system for the staff. We're going to continue with our self-paced tutorials, including all of the Google Suite, and then any other technologies that we introduce during the coming school year. There'll be instructional videos on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and we're going to have a variety of professional development that will be offered for staff. This year we're excited to be able to introduce some micro courses for teachers that will be 1-credit courses, and they can be done on their own pace. We'll continue with webinars as needed, and we'll be doing a variety of blended courses where teachers will have the opportunity to learn new things and then demonstrate those through their applications.
Hi, this is Melanie Michaels, the business manager. I'll be speaking to the transportation for the students. Per the latest safety guidelines, All staff and students will be required to wear a mask while riding the bus. Each seat will allow one student per bench. Students will alternate sides for each row, allowing 3 feet of physical distance between them. If children are from the same household, they may sit together to a maximum of 2 in a bench. Windows will be kept open on the buses for ventilation unless it's not possible due to weather conditions. Students will also be assigned to a single bus and a particular seat. We are working closely with our transportation vendors, reviewing a variety of sanitation options. There will be more information to come. Thank you.
This is Kim Woodford, Administrator for Special Education and Pupil Personnel, and I'll be focusing on safety. The district's first steps to ensure safety is by ordering a 12-week supply of personal protective equipment, PPE. We are expecting the delivery of our PPE in August. DESE has provided training tools for all returning employees. This training is for staff to understand the purpose of PPE and to ensure it's implemented appropriately. The district, as well as each school, will have a COVID-19 response leader. Their role is to field questions, provide clear communication, and to support protocols. Each school will also have an isolation room to separate affected students from the general population. A school nurse will supervise the isolation room to provide support for the student. All of our staff will be asked to communicate their daily health status to the school nurse. We are currently identifying an app that will make this process easier. Parents are going to be asked to do a daily health check with their child prior to sending them to school. If the child feels sick, they should stay home. Please communicate any health concerns to our school nurse or principal. If a student becomes COVID-19 positive, our staff will contact DPH, who will guide us with a notification process along with possible contact tracing. We are also asking parents to supply a mask for their child.
So again, this is our contact information. Feel free to email us at lps_hotline@leominsterschools.org or call us at 978-534-7700, extension 1341. And again, please leave us a message because your voice counts. So in closing, remember, we have 3 choices. Know that remote learning is always an option. We will support students at home right from the start if that is a family's preferred method. Our hybrid is essentially an A-B week with modifications in specialized programs like CTI, LCE, and sub-separate programming to ensure all needs are met. And a full reopening, that would bring all students and staff back simultaneously. Our country has had a phase-in process, and it would be my recommendation to do the same as we monitor the health metrics. We will provide the community with updated information as it is provided. Again, please contact the school department directly with any questions or concerns, and I thank you for your time and to everyone who has put efforts into this project.